guys, it's Blair here, and in this week's video we are going to be talking about a sculptor, famous sculptor, Alberto Giacometti, and we are going to be making one of his famous stickman sculptures out of tinfoil. So it'll look something like this. That was my one. Something that you can then keep and play around with, different shapes. So I will show you, we will talk a bit about sculpture and Giacometti, and then we will make one of our own figures.
So what is sculpture? Sculpture can be many different things, but it is a three-dimensional art form, meaning it has height, width, and length. It can be made out of clay sculpture, and what we know as pottery. It could be out of wood. It can be made out of many different materials, from wire to tinfoil to plastic and metal, even 3D printing. Sculptures can be tiny, like the lead of a pencil, or they can be so big that you have to look at them from a distance. They can be very realistic, or they can be abstract, meaning that we have to think about what it is we're looking at. Alberto Giacometti was born at the start of the 1900s. He was influenced by the early art movements such as Cubism and Surrealism, as you can see in his earlier works, which are quite abstract. After World War II, Giacometti came up with his signature style, the thin, elongated figures that we can see here. He was particularly interested in the loneliness and anxiety that people were feeling at this time, and he wanted to create that feeling in his work, as we can see here. He also painted his works. After doing the sculptures, he would do many drawings and paintings of them as well.
Alright, so to start off with, we're going to do a quick activity. If you can separate your page into 6 squares, so I'm going to draw a line across the middle here and 2 down the middle. They don't need to be perfect squares, this is just going to be a quick exercise. And we're going to do a drawing of a stick figure in each square. And you're only going to have 10 seconds to do that drawing. So these are just going to be quick sketches. It doesn't matter what they look like, it's just an exercise to warm up. So in the first square, we're just going to draw a normal stick figure. So I will go ahead and do mine in 10 seconds. So yep, 10 seconds. So there's my normal stick figure. Okay, and in the second square, I'm going to do a stick figure that is running. So I'm going to try imagine how I can do a simple stick figure that looks like he is running. So it's just an exercise in 10 seconds. Okay, there's my running stick figure. And in the third square, we're going to try to do a stick figure that is sad. So imagine how we can make the person look sad just with the shape of the body. So in 3, 2, 1. Okay, there's my sad stick figure, although you could show that in many different ways. Alright, and in the fourth square, we're going to try to do a stick figure that would be comforting the sad stick figure. So imagine when someone is trying to comfort someone, what posture would they have? How would their body be? So I'll try to do that one. There's my comforting stick figure. And in the fifth square, we will do a stick figure that is happy. So how would you do your happy stick figure? Right, in 3, 2, 1. Right, there's my happy stick figure. And in the last square, you can do a stick figure doing whatever you want. So think about an activity or something that you want your stick figure to be doing. And don't tell anyone. If you're doing this with someone else, try to see if they can guess what your stick figure is doing. And that's a good way to know if you've shown it well enough that someone can guess what they're doing. So I will do mine first and give you a second to see if you can guess what they're doing. So 3, 2, 1. Give you a second to guess what they're doing. And if you guess that they were falling over, then that would be correct. So my stick figure is someone falling over. Right, so now we are going to move on to the second part of this activity, which is our Giacometti sculpture. So to do this, you will need a piece of tin foil. So if you can, make sure the tin foil is about the size of an A4 piece of paper, or a bit bigger if possible, but otherwise you can make it as large or as small as you want. It'll be a bit easier if it's a little bit bigger. Okay, now I'm going to split the piece of paper into 5 parts. So I'm going to do this by drawing some lines. So this part here is going to be the head. And then we have an arm, another arm, a leg, and then we have the torso in the middle. So that's the middle part of the body. Okay, so Let me make sure that you can see that properly. So this bit almost crosses through the middle. The legs are almost a quarter each, so another line down the middle. And the only bit that's a bit different is the head, which goes on an angle, because the head's not quite as big as the arms or legs. So now I'm going to cut down my lines, stopping around the torso. So don't cut all the way in because your tinfoil will rip. So stop with enough space for the torso. So I'm going to maybe make that line a bit easier to see. Now I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut. Okay, so there I have my 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now very carefully, I'm going to scrunch these pieces up into the form of my stick figure. So I'll do this carefully because if I pull at the tinfoil, it will rip and then I'll have to do it all again. So just very gently, I'll start with my head and just start by scrunching it in onto itself like this. And just once you get down to the torso, don't squish too much because you might pull it off. So arm now. And my other arm. Onto itself, and now the legs. If a bit of your tinfoil does come off, don't worry because it's very easy to squish back together anyway, or you could always use a little bit of tape if you need. It's a bit easier to squish it together when it's pushing against on the table against something, making it a bit stronger. And there I have my sculpture. So now that that's finished, what I can do is play around with my sculpture and see what shapes I can make. Whether I could maybe recreate some of my shapes. For example, if I were to make him look like he was walking, I can bend parts of it or make him run. Make him look like he's running. Or make him look like he's sad. You can do anything you want with your sculpture. He is yours now, so you can play around with it. Maybe see if you can make him stand on his own by giving him some feet, or giving him the posture that means that he can stand on his own, although that can be a bit tricky. Might need some playing around, so here we are. And if you like doing that sculpture, you can always go and get some air dry clay and turn it into a proper sculpture, which you can do at home.